Very cool. Well, we're gonna get rolling here in a second, everybody. Thank you so much for joining. I'm Craig Zingerline, CEO and co-founder of Growth University. Jen Bryan is my co-founder, CMO, on as well, and we're super psyched to introduce Muriel Foley today. Jen will actually do a much better job of an introduction than I will. I just want to tell you quickly about kind of who we are and what we're up to, and then we'll hand it over, and I will shut up. So basically, we're a startup ourselves, and we provide long form live cohort programs as well as events like this to founders and marketers. And our whole game is trying to help founders really build their playbook for growth and ensure success of their startups. I'm a serial entrepreneur myself. We're a spin out from Launch and the Launch Accelerator, and we run these types of programs with startups across the board. Just really quickly, the longer form programs that we have upcoming. Jen's running a program starting actually next week on growing your business with Instagram. That's a live cohort program. It's also recorded, 4 live Zoom sessions, super engaging, super fun. Then a deeper dive course on Google starting on May 5th. And then I'm running a more structural growth marketing program starting, we haven't picked the date, but it'll likely start again in May. And then if you go to our events page, you can see other stuff like this that's happening. And we're generally running one of these just about every week at this point. We're starting to increase that velocity. So I'm going to sit back. I'm going to hand it over to Jen and then to Muriel. And I just wanted to say thank you so much for everybody for joining. And we'll have some time for Q&A at the end. And so we'll just go from there.
Perfect. So I'm just going to do a quick introduction here to Muriel. She's a fantastic marketer based here in Ireland. I'm based in Ireland as well. She's the founder of MGFD, a digital marketing consultancy agency. She has over 8 years experience in digital marketing across Ireland and Canada. During her time in Canada, Muriel worked as a paid social lead for a global agency where she developed paid social strategies for national and international clients in the retail, hospitality, food and beverage and auto industry space. She also has an MA in public relations and new media and is also Facebook Blueprint certified. And Muriel has worked with some of the biggest brands in the world, Adidas, Coca-Cola, Diageo, Home Depot, Jägermeister, General Motors. I mean, those are just to name a few. So you're in fantastic hands today. Looking forward to hearing the presentation, and I'll hand it over to you now, Muriel.
Thanks, Jen. Literally, just as you were talking, a plane is flying right above me, and I was like, "Come on, keep going, keep going." But anyway, we're all good. We're all good. Hi, everyone. Lovely to virtually meet you all. I'm very excited to be here. Thanks, Jen, for the invite, and thanks, Craig, as well. So I'm going to be sharing my screen for this presentation, and I'm going to be talking all about the TikTok effect on Instagram. So as we know, TikTok in the past couple of years has really blown up, and we also know that Instagram likes to keep an eye on what every other app is doing. It likes to take inspiration from what they're doing well and then apply it to their own app. So basically today I'm going to be weaving in and out of what's happening on TikTok and best practices on TikTok, because honestly it translates into Instagram. So I'm going to share my screen. Hopefully you can all see it. I'm going to say the textbook. Can you see my screen? So I'm assuming all is good. And yeah, excellent. So let's get started. So thanks, Jen, for the intro. I really don't like talking about myself, so I'm just going to skip right on because you know about me already. Excellent. So in terms of what I'm going to be covering, and I know I have a bit to cover, but we will get through it. So today's session will focus on why short form content is king. So if you've been using Instagram for your business or just yourselves in general, you will know that there is this kind of emphasis now on short form content. People like this instant gratification, and we all know how fast people's thumbs move as well through the feed. So short form content is definitely king. Then I'm going to talk about the TikTok mentality and how, again, that has affected pretty much every other app, but we're going to focus on Instagram in this case. Of course, I'm going to be talking about Instagram Reels because it is born out of TikTok. They might as well have have just called it Instagram schmick because it's essentially a carbon copy. But as I said, every best practice for TikTok is a best practice for Instagram Reels. So I'm going to be focusing on a couple of tips for that. And then I'm also going to be talking about some content creation tips to kind of get you going, because I know some of you like to use Instagram yourselves, or you want to use it for your businesses, or you're in that kind of startup phase where you need to start getting these bits of inspiration and tips for when you do eventually start creating content. So you're in the right place. So quickly about Instagram's algorithm. It is always changing. Now, if you have been a business on Instagram, if you've been posting on Instagram, even what was best practices 6 months ago, and you're like, yes, I've conquered it. I understand the algorithm. I'm doing it really well. I understand. And then it's like, boom, Reels. Where do they come from? Now I have to start using them because the algorithm is changing and it's favoring this type of media. So we have to be able to adapt. And that goes, I know, for all digital, but Instagram in particular, compared to the other apps, it is extremely disruptive. And it's one of those types of apps that's just going to be ever changing. But at the same time, it will never stray from its core mission. And its core mission is that it's a visual first platform that creates positive experiences for the end user. So Instagram, and what sets Instagram apart, was always the fact that it was very visual based. It still does not rely on heavy amounts of text or even taking people out of its app via links. It's very, very protective over that. So that's why we know, even when we're putting captions together, that we can't hyperlink within our captions unless you're doing Instagram shopping. So we have to kind of be creative within the app and keep the attention there as well. But favorable content for the end user will go further, because sometimes as business owners as well, we tend to forget that people go on Instagram because they want to see their family, their friends, a couple of celebrities, perhaps a couple of exes. They're not on going, oh my God, I can't wait to go on Instagram to see 100 ads from businesses, and I can't wait to see what the dealership down the road has to say. They don't say these things. So we have to remember that they're on it to see what the people who they're following are up to, and to maybe explore and see kind of new fun content that's relatable to them. So every piece of content that you create disrupts that experience for them. So it has to create that value, and it has to be favorable to them in order to do well on that app. But Instagram has learned from the best, and it will continue to adapt to people's needs. So stories were born out of Snapchat, and they basically took what was working on Snapchat, they mimicked it and they refined it. And now Instagram stories are much more popular for businesses versus Snapchat. But Snapchat was really the center point of this vertical full screen content. But now they're looking at TikTok because of the fact that TikTok has grown so much. It's not going anywhere. It's constantly evolving, and it is gaining users all of the time. So it's going, okay, TikTok is working. How can we take inspiration from that? And there we go. Reels was born. So at the moment, there is a mixture of things that currently Instagram is favoring. So one of those things is consistency. And I know if you've ever done any course anywhere, or if you've read what is the best way to grow on Instagram, or what are Instagram's top tips, it is that consistency. And it doesn't mean that you have to post on the hour, every single day. You just need to find a rhythm that works for you, but be consistent with that. It also prefers proactive accounts versus broadcast. And what I mean there is, it doesn't like when accounts are just arriving on Instagram, posting their content, and they're bailing. They prefer when an account is actually proactive, whether it's interacting with their followers, it's liking posts, it's messaging people. Every time somebody comments on your material, are you talking back to them? Are you answering questions? Are you asking questions? So it way prefers proactive accounts versus broadcast. And that's honestly the same with TikTok. It prefers when an account is active on its platform, because then it will reward it as well. And then you have Reels and any new features. So if you are scrolling through your Instagram app and then all of a sudden you're like, oh, that's new, didn't see that before, use it, because Instagram wants you to use it. It wants more people to see that it's a new feature, and it will push it out to more people. So it's all about this increased visibility. It also wants you to create original content. Now, I'll get into that a little bit later, but originality is king. And then also to make sure that your content is searchable and your profiles are also searchable as well. So even things like your bio, your actual name, are you using keywords to do with your business, your product or your service in there so you can actually be found if people are doing their research on those platforms. So now we're going to get into short form content. And the reason why short form content is the way that it is now is because our attention spans are only getting shorter. I'm sure that during this webinar, you may check your phone possibly 34 times, possibly 68 times, depending, right? But you can kind of multitask, but you're used to getting these distractions. So if your phone, if a notification appears on your phone, or if something pings on your phone, you look at it and you don't even go, oh, I saw something flicker there in the corner, I'm going to leave it off. You have a look at it because it's a distraction, but it's something that we're getting used to. So no matter what, these distractions actually cause us to have shorter attention spans as well. So it is a mentality that's not going anywhere. So usually the scroll that people have is an average of 1.7 seconds. So that means that when people are scrolling through their feed, you have about 1.7 seconds for people to make up their mind whether they're going to stop and look at your piece of content or whether they're going to keep on going. So it is really, really fast. It's a very, very quick decision that people have to make, whether they want to stop their thumbs and look at your content or whether they want to keep going. So it can be a bit disheartening when you see this number, but it will make you think about your content. So if, for example, you're creating a video and your video, at 8 seconds, your video kicks into gear and it becomes amazing, but the first 3 seconds is this kind of slow, maybe your logo's appearing and it's disappearing, but that took 4 seconds. That's going to turn people off because they don't know that there's amazing quality content coming in. So if you are creating any type of video content or anything that's going to be of maybe 10 or 15 seconds in length, try to make the first couple of seconds really engaging so that people stop. And then you have to think, how am I going to retain them as well? So that is kind of a shocker for some people. But when you are, creating content like TikTok, Instagram, Snapchat, they are very much mobile first. So as marketers, what we do sometimes is we love our laptops, we love our desktops, we create beautiful pieces of content for that screen, but that screen is landscape and that screen is it's much, much bigger and it's landscape. And what we create on that looks amazing. But then when we translate it into a smaller, narrow portrait screen, it either gets stretched or you lose real estate because now it's only the center part of the mobile and it's actually got this block at the top and the bottom and it doesn't look that nice. So we have to flip the script now and we can still use our computers, but we need to test everything on mobile first before it gets posted because that's where people are and that's where these apps are. And things like Instagram stories, TikTok, even like fleets on Twitter, LinkedIn stories, they're all full screen, they're all portrait content. So you need to think of that too. So creating content for that small screen, but that also does mean that your messaging has to be clear and concise. You can't have it very, very text heavy. It has to be eye-catching because remember, you need to stop those thumbs. It is almost the equivalent of a young child and you're trying to little rattle, oh hey, over here. That's kind of like the Instagram feed right now. You're kind of like, oh look at me, no look over here, woo, look over here. So it's trying to get their attention and it's trying to retain that attention as well. So when you're looking at what content works in this scenario, so in terms of short form content, as I said, it needs to grab attention and then it needs to keep attention. So you could have the start of a video where it's like, oh my God, you'll never believe this, or watch to the end, or here are my top 5 tips, but number 3 is a kicker. And when videos start like that, you're almost already luring people in, but they want to know what am I getting at the end? Or, what is happening at the end of this video, or what's tip number 5, or what's tip number 3. And you almost, when you're told what to do, it can help. And I'm sure when you're scrolling through your Instagram feed, or even if you are on TikTok for research purposes, when you're scrolling through and someone goes, stop scrolling, I have something to say. all like most of the time you're going to be like, oh, I hate that you told me what to do, but okay, what have you got to say? And it does work because it grabs the attention, and then that's going to keep your attention. And if you have content that tells a story, so any good content creation comes from a story or has some sort of beginning, middle, and an end. So if you are tapping into short form video content, then you need to be able to find what is the start of what I'm trying to say, what is the middle, and what am I ending with as well. But you need to add that value because people want that content that gives them something, whether it's a feeling or whether it's information, education, whatever it is, they need to feel like they've gotten value from your post. And that moves into emotional content creation. So when you create content that people respond emotionally to, the rest falls into place. Because if I even asked you, can you remember the last advert that you saw? Can you think of the last thing that you were exposed to or the last piece of sponsored content that you saw? You will probably remember something that made you feel happy, that made you laugh, that possibly scared you, that made you feel sad or made you feel sentimental. And all of those things means that they tapped into that emotional advertising, and that works when you tell a story or when you try to reel people in, but you give them something that they respond emotionally to. And that's why things like audio works, and that's why TikTok and Reels work, because they're very much built around music in most formats. That piece of music almost tells you how you should feel when you're listening to it as well. But there's a lot of bad content out there, a lot of bad content out there. But you can have a lot of bad short form content too. And bad short form content is too branded. So like I was saying, when you have this window of 3 to 5 seconds, or even that 1.7 seconds I spoke about at the start, when you have that window and you're using that window to get your brand, I need to get my brand in the first couple of seconds, but I need it to cover the whole screen so people know about me. If somebody sees something that's too branded or ad like, they're going to skip ahead. So is there a way that you can watermark your logo into the video, whether it's in the corner, at the side, or maybe in the back using a green screen, but have your subject or have your content front and center and watermark your logo? Now you can have it at the end, absolutely. But at the start, you need to remember that you need to grab that attention. So whether or not you're like, but I need my logo there, if they're skipping on, it's still not going to do you any benefit. Also, bad short form content is boring. And there's a lot of boring content out there. And you know, when people are like, we're the best, we won 10 million awards, look at us, we're fantastic. And they're constantly talking about themselves like they're leading with ego, but they're not actually providing value or information for the person. That's boring for the end user. Yes, it's amazing for the person who the business owner, but they need to have like a level of content that's also adding that value. Content that takes too long to get going. If you are creating content, and I'm sure a lot of people here are charismatic and great in front of the camera, but if you pass the phone to somebody, in maybe it's a team member or somebody else, and they're like, okay, I'll create a video, because you've made them do it, and then they get in front of the camera and they're like, hey, so and it takes so long to get going, people are not going to wait around. So you need to be short, snappy, and to the point. Also, poorly edited content. And I know if you haven't created short form content, I don't expect people to be, experts at it, but you kind of know yourself. If something isn't looking great, it's probably best not to post it. And also anything that doesn't match the voiceover. So I'm sure you've seen content, especially on TikTok and on Reels, where it's a sound that is used multiple times and people do a voiceover with it. But when it doesn't match the voiceover, when it's really, it's like watching a movie when the sound doesn't match the voice and it's like delayed by 10 seconds. It's painful. It's painful to watch. So that also makes bad content, and anything that's overly salesy. So if every single piece of content that you're creating is selling, is constantly selling, then you need to kind of make sure that you're not overselling all of the time. Then for you, so for your business, from a business point of view, yes, obviously there are people watching your content, and yes, there are people who you are talking to and they need that content too, but you also need to think about your business as well. So you need to kind of find a nice mixture of both. So good short form content satisfies your upper funnel goals. So when you're thinking about this type of content for your business, think about the upper funnel. That's where you're going to be getting the audiences, is there, because it has that high reach potential. Reaching those new audiences, sparking the engagements. Are you getting commentary? If you are, right back. Are you starting a conversation? Are you asking people questions? And reaching the right people at the right moments, that is key. So making sure that if you're talking about something that's relatable for people, that you're actually creating it at the right time. So if you're talking about content of what, tips of things to do on a Sunday morning and you're posting it on a Friday, it's not going to make sense. But also create content that showcases you, that content that makes you uniquely you, and content that shows who you are as a brand, a business, or entrepreneur. People really respect that when you are kind of authentically yourself. So then you have this TikTok mentality. So TikTok has essentially grown out of Vine. So Vine, if some of you may remember, some of you won't, I absolutely loved Vine years ago, but it was a social media platform where you had 6 seconds, SIX seconds, to create content. The editing capabilities were horrendous, but it made amazing content creators out of people. People who are now really good at TikTok, or now TikTok stars or social media stars, they all were on Vine, and they learned how to be creative in 6 seconds with short form content. And that, unfortunately, Vine did not stay alive because they weren't monetizing their app at all. So they ended up going bust. Then a new app was created called Musical.ly, which was very much focused on voiceovers, music first, some dance routines, but also very much voiceover content. And it was that kind of content creation space that Vine content creators moved into. And then TikTok took over from Musical.ly, and now it's TikTok. So it came from, yes, TikTok didn't buy out Vine, but the audiences have moved from that kind of Vine mentality into the TikTok mentality of, you were able to create really good content in 6 seconds. And in TikTok, you have that 60 seconds that you can use to create, and you can use to really, talk about your brand and be more creative in a larger amount of time, but technically still very much short form content. So even looking at the mission statement of TikTok, it's very, very small, and it's very, very clear. Our mission is to inspire creativity and bring joy. Those are the 2 things that it is heavily focused on. And if you've ever used TikTok, and if you've ever even heard or read anything about TikTok, it's very much a creator space, but it's very much a place that brings people that joy, that brings people that relatability and entertainment, and almost escapism as well. So what sets it apart? And as I was saying at the start, you have this mentality that TikTok gives to people. But TikTok is now inspiring other apps. So Instagram is watching what sets TikTok apart, and it's going, how can I take certain things from this app and bring them into my own app, because that app is performing really well. So everything that's currently working on TikTok, and all of even the new features that it has, the fact that it's ever evolving and constantly growing, that Instagram is going to take inspiration from it as much as it possibly can. So that's why it's good to know what sets TikTok apart in order to relate it to Instagram. So with TikTok, you have that vertical full screen scroll. And essentially, when you have that full screen scroll, it means that when you watch a piece of content, that is all you see on your screen. So there's just that one video, unlike, we'll say, the Instagram feed, where you'll see the bottom of one post, the start of another one, and then the main post in the middle. So it doesn't necessarily own that space unless you are in stories or you actually click on the Reels tab. So it has that kind of vertical full screen scroll. The For You page, so that's what FYP means. It means the For You page. So TikTok's homepage starts by showing you content from people you don't follow. That's called the For You page. And even moving into the line that says unique algorithm, TikTok has owned this space, that it has created a homepage that's uniquely for you. It's based off of all of the touch points that you've had with their app. And it's based off of that type of content that you relate to. And it shows you content that it knows you will like. So if I sat alongside my best friend, even though we have similar interests, I'm sure our For You pages would look very, very different. It also has that high reach potential. You could go to sleep, you could wake up, and you could have had 1 million views on your TikTok. There could have been 12 views on it when you were going to bed. So it has that high reach potential as well, and that kind of virality to it. It also has amazing video edits, effects, and transitions. So if there's a youngster in your life that's been on TikTok for years and they're creating content, hire them as your videographers in a couple of years, because they're learning a lot from that, but they're getting great skills from it because it provides that atmosphere of video creation and editing. Also things like series content. So part 1, part 2, episode 1, episode 2. People that actually perform quite well on TikTok are people that are consistent. So you'll find that a content creator, if they find their niche and they have this kind of subject matter that they do really well with, that when they have that, and then they start creating content that's a part 2 of that or part 3 of that, and they continue the narrative, those types of videos actually perform the best on their pages. And then anything they create outside of that does okay. But once they have that niche and they have that space and they have that series content, that's the one that is the money maker for them. And then that niched content. So I will be getting a little bit or into a bit more detail about niches in a minute, and the virality as well. And the fact that things like trending sounds and challenges, and duets and stitches, all of these new words that have come out of TikTok that Instagram is watching, as I said, it's always watching, and those kind of things are things you need to keep an eye out for. But also the fact that views increase over time. So Reels is kind of doing this as well, where you could have a video that gets a certain amount of views, but then it could be shown to people after the fact. So it has a longer shelf life. And unlike the likes of, we'll say, feed content on Instagram or Facebook content, where you only really have that window of time right after you post, maybe 24 hours, and then it just won't really be shown to new people. Whereas TikTok content and also Reel content has that potential to be shown to people well after the fact. So never delete any content that you create there. But 83% of users on TikTok create content. So it is a platform that everybody feels like a content creator, and it is very inclusive in that way, where you could have, like, I remember there was this man who accidentally recorded himself just going, "Where's the record button?" And he was like kind of using his phone. He was a little bit confused, and he didn't really understand it, but it ended up posting anyway, and it got millions of views because people were like, "Welcome to TikTok. It's okay. It gets easier from here." And it is that lovely community where people are very forgiving and everybody can create. So it's not that you have to have super high quality content all of the time. It's quite forgiving in that way. So then when we're looking at what sets Reels apart, so as I said, it's very similar to TikTok. So it is short form video content. It's audio driven in most cases, where you don't necessarily have to talk to camera, and you don't have to necessarily create your own audio. It uses things like trending music, chart music, trending sounds, and then whatever content you create that's maybe based on that subject matter, or that you're taking inspiration from the audio, that type of content is working quite well. It has that vertical scroll from TikTok, and it likes that clear and concise messaging. So it's short form. So when you look at Instagram Reels, you only have a maximum of 30 seconds to create your content, versus TikTok, where it is at 60 seconds. Now, I'm sure one of these days like that, we're going to wake up and it's going to be like, oh, Instagram Reels is now at 60 seconds. So it won't be long until that happens. But Reels launched in Q3 of 2020 as an answer to the rise in population of TikTok. So we know that popularity that TikTok really got, especially over lockdown, that Instagram was watching that growth, and it's going, we need to make that, we need to jump on that as soon as possible. So it launched in Q3 of last year. And this kind of, short form content, but this relatable content. So it was always this kind of, Instagram is the channel that you're perfect on. It's got filters. You put your best version of yourself on Instagram. And TikTok was where people could escape to. And I know there's some content there about like the fact that TikTok is fun, right? It is a channel that you go to if, you know, if you're having a bad day or if you're hungover and you're like, I just want to go to an app that I can look at content on and not feel like I'm going to be just watching people living their best lives. I want to be able to go on and see that relatable, raw content that's engaging and that I don't feel like I'm alone with. So that's why it's done so well. So even Instagram is trying to ease up on the whole Instagram versus reality kind of stereotype that people have about its app. And it's trying to tap into this kind of world of reels where it's like, no, create fun, engaging content, be yourself, be relatable. So it's trying to kind of disengage from this perfectionism that it has been associated with. And again, everybody is a creator, so they're trying to get people to create content. But it's not all about dancing on a screen, or it's not all about pointing to letters. Because I know that when business owners are like, sure, I can't be on TikTok. I don't know how to dance and I don't know how to do this. But you don't have to. You can create really good content for Reels or for TikTok, and you don't need to do one dance move. You're fine. But it gives you the opportunity when you're using Reels and when you're actually tapping into this type of content that works, it gives you this opportunity to reach new audiences, to build your brand persona and to elevate your content. So if you're of that, and I know that all of you are here because you understand that this is the way that we'll say even social media is going, where there are certain apps that disrupt, but then they also lead, and other apps will absolutely take inspiration from them and drive on, change their algorithms accordingly. So the fact that you're here means that you're open-minded to that. But if you became, for other people who are quite close-minded when it comes to changes, their brands will never grow because they're always of this mindset where they're like, nope, I know what I know, and Instagram is going to come back. It's going to come back to the way it was, or Facebook's going to come back to the way it was. So I'm going to stick with what I know. And they're not open-minded to potentially testing a reel or doing new content or stepping out of their comfort zone. And those are the kind of brands that will find it very, very hard to grow on these platforms as well. So then looking at the actual way of growing on TikTok, and it's similar to Instagram. So the way that you grow on TikTok is you combine your niche with whatever is trending, whether it's sounds, content, challenges, and you create content around that. So when you find your niche could be whatever industry or product you have, what service you provide, but what makes you uniquely you. So once you find that niche, stick with it. So that's why it's great if you know who your audience is and you know your unique selling points and you know what makes you uniquely you. It's so much easier to create content. If you're stuck, if you've literally never been on TikTok and you've never created a reel and you're like, where do I even start? I always say do your research on TikTok, because whatever happens on TikTok will happen on Reels. It'll just take a few days to translate over, but usually what trends on TikTok will translate over. So if you want to do any research on TikTok, put in your industry, put in even your products. Like I've had people who are who do baby massage like classes, and they were like, how am I going to do TikToks? And I'm like, search the hashtag baby massage, and I'm telling you, there are people there creating amazing content for mothers, and it will inspire you, or at least it will show you that there is a market out there for that. So no matter what you think, or even if you think, well, my niche is so niched that maybe nobody is on it talking about it or nobody is watching that content, you could be surprised. So if you do that research, so using the discover button and typing in the industry, the products, and you can choose between top or users. So it'll show you the top people, the videos that are trending with that, the sounds that are trending, and even the hashtags. So when you tap on the hashtags, you can actually tap on any of these related to your products. And again, it will show you what's trending, what types of videos are created. So it will help you with your research. And I know that I'm very much an advocate of do not copy content, but I'm very much, I do say, do your research and get inspired. Just get inspired and find your own way of doing these things. But you will get so much inspiration from these, from TikTok and from content creators. And you'll even see what trends are out there. So even things like trending sounds and how you can translate that into your business. There's so many things that you can do. So doing your research using TikTok is very, very helpful, but also like tap on that Reels tab in your Instagram app. tap on that tab in the center or wherever it is on your app, and just start scrolling and just start getting to know what people are posting on Reels. And you'll just get that kind of common denominator, and you'll get what people are posting and how you can actually then relate that back to your business. So I always say, just start scrolling, just start researching. And even if you save some things to your device or you're screenshotting them to come back to them, and you're creating this little mood board of inspiring content. And I usually find that as you're scrolling through, or if you're hearing a sound and you're like, oh, I have an idea around that, or I have a way that I can translate that into my business, and it just sparks this creativity. And I also know that during a pandemic and during lockdown, creative juices very, very dry right now, because it's like you're just locked into this same routine all the time. It's very, very hard to be creative. So I always say, just dip into an app like TikTok and just scroll, or click on Reels and scroll, and just get that creativity inspired from people in your industry, or just content creators in general. So one trick that a lot of people do on TikTok, again, remember, it all translates over, is if there is a sound that's trending, or if there are popular effects that are trending, you'll see stickers and you'll see the little music icon as well on TikTok. You can tap on those. They're all tappable. And so if something is trending on TikTok, for instance, you tap on that sound, and you'll see that there are people creating thousands and thousands of videos based off of that sound. And you can choose to create a video around that sound. And it could be something, again, that's inspired by the sound, but you're making it uniquely authentic to your business. And you could also look at the different effects, because anytime, even same with Instagram, anytime that there's a new effect or something new like a sound, that TikTok or Reels is going to start pushing your content out in the algorithm, because it's like, oh, we have a new sound, or oh, we have a new effect. Go, 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 go. So your content could potentially have that virality to it as well. So even when you're doing that, so when you're thinking about that for TikTok, now translate it into Reels, because Reels works the same way. So if you see a video that is currently maybe trending, or maybe it has like quite a number of views or comments or likes on it, and you're like, oh, what can I do with that audio or that sound, because I quite like that. When you're watching Reels, so when you're using the tab and watching Reels in full screen, the audio of that reel plays at the bottom here, so it plays underneath the caption. You can tap on that, and then it will actually show you whatever videos were created around that, and you can choose to use the audio, or you can choose to save that audio for later. So using that then as the actual sound when you're creating the reel for yourself will help you and nudge you in the algorithm a little bit, because it's now a video that people have seen, and if they've engaged with it, they're more than likely to potentially see your video as well. So it's just a little trick that that people use for these trending sounds. There's my face. My face appears now in a couple of screenshots, so apologies, right? But anyway, let's ignore that. Just look at what I'm pointing at. So on Reels as well, when you are creating it, this is the interface. There's also the effects here. So you'll find that they're on the new update, they're here, or else they'll be hidden in here and they'll say effects. So when you tap on that, they've actually created a new layout for effects. So here they have them broken out into for you, trending, I know for you, right? Trending, Reels, aesthetic, special effects. So you can tap on the Reels one here, and then you can actually so the last trick, sorry, I know there was a question about that. So the last trick was that if there was a reel that was trending, and then you find the audio, so you're like, okay, that reel is trending, or that sound is trending, and I want to use that for my own reel, you open it in full screen, and then there's an audio down here. So it's kind of like a ticker, like it's rolling. You tap on that, and then you can save it to use for later, or you can click use audio. So it's basically it basically is like the trick that you can kind of use that trending audio. And then with effects, you can tap on that button and then select any effects here that you might want to use for your reels. And there is also a trending section as well. And all that's saying is Instagram is like, use this, use it, use this. And then on TikTok, you have duets. So duets is if you come across a piece of content that that you want to respond to, or something that might make sense with your brand, and you want to duet it. And if you're using TikTok, you'll know what I mean. If you don't, as I was saying, definitely head over to TikTok and you'll probably see a duet within a few seconds. So this type of content, it can be done where you're duetting yourself. So I have a podcast, Content is King. We talk about digital, but with pandemic, we're never together recording it in the studio. So we try to create these duet pieces of content where we're having a conversation with each other using this feature. So it's available when you press any share button. It appears here as a duet. You can choose that. And now, as of late, again, warning, my face. So there's now a duet feature called remixes for Reels. So they're essentially kind of, again, taking inspiration from the duet feature, and it's called remixes. So when you create your remix, you can enable people to remix it. So you create your reel, and you can prompt people to remix it. And then when they remix your reel, you can see that it says remix here. And then they answer my questions or they remix it, and it's really, really straightforward, and it works the exact same as duets on TikTok. But for people who have duetted this so far, these are really high numbers for their reel views in a while. So they've noticed that there has been an increase when they started using remixes because it's a new feature. So try to potentially look at something that if you see it on your feed like this, if you see something on your feed that you're like, oh, I could remix that, or oh, I could take inspiration from that and do a little remix with it, then just tap on the three dots at the bottom of that reel and tap remix, and then this is what your screen will look like, and you can record your content when you press the record button at the same time. So it's like you're creating it alongside it. There is a an account on TikTok, so it's WAVEWYLD. That's the name of the creator. She's actually really good at being like, this is currently trending. This is currently trending. And she's very good. So she's kind of doing the work for us where she's like, ooh, this is currently trending on TikTok. So she's kind of like a good one to follow if you do want to see maybe things that are trending on TikTok, because as I said, if it's trending on TikTok, it will start trending on Instagram as well. So if you are creating content on TikTok, try to remember that if you want to create content on TikTok and then translate it over into a reel, so you want to cross post, you can create on TikTok first and remove the watermark. So you can remove the watermark using this app called SSS TikTok. And that will actually remove, so it'll just take the link from your video and remove the watermark. So that is a way of basically putting your video from TikTok into Reels, because if you have a watermarked TikTok video that you post as a reel, the reach of that content is actually going to be kind of restricted. But also another warning is that the audio, and now look, I notice because I'm on this all the time, but the audio now from a TikTok is echoed on Reels. So they know that it's coming from TikTok and they'll automatically make this like tinned effect or this echo on it. So the quality of the sound is actually also going to be depreciated because Instagram's like, no, that's not original content. You didn't create that for Reels. That came from TikTok. So we're going to slightly make it not as nice anymore. Whereas before they were very forgiving, but it's just a little thing. And I've noticed it, and yeah, it's mad, but they're just like, no, we want original content. Thanks very much. But anyway, so I'm just going to give you a couple more tips before we finish up, and then I'll head into any questions that you have at the end. So a couple of tips is create a cover for your reels, because if you're working on your Instagram grid, or if you expect that people are going to be visiting your Instagram grid after you've created this reel, if you choose a part of your reel to be the cover and it doesn't really make sense, or it has absolutely no context, people are less likely to click on it. Whereas if you give it a cover, maybe you have a little title on it. Think about a thumbnail for YouTube or any thumbnail in general. When a thumbnail has information on it about what the video was about, you're more than likely going to click on it versus someone's face where you're like, they could be talking about anything. So create a cover, and you can add then from your camera roll. So if you're using any apps, maybe you're using Photoshop or you're using Canva to create this cover, then absolutely do, but save it before you create your reel so that you can pop it in at the end. make sure that you're sharing your reel to your feed. If you just choose to share it without putting it in your feed, it doesn't get that many views, because you kind of need your own followers to push it out first, right? You kind of need them to give you that love first so that it can be pushed out. So I always say to share it on your feed as well. And you can always hide it from your profile if you want after the fact. Another tip is save your reel. Save it before you post it. Save it before you share it, because unfortunately reels are glitchy. So they might decide that, oh, oops, we lost your reel, and then it's gone. So just save it before you share it. It'll save to your device, and then you can always re-upload it. So as I said, if something doesn't suit your grid, so if, for example, you picked the cover, like, I don't want this on my grid, if that's my screenshot of my face and people are like, it's like in their face, then you can always tap remove from profile grid on the 3 dots. You can remove it from profile grid, so it still lives in your reels, but it's not actually on your grid, messing up your aesthetic. You can also use a voiceover. So when you are after recording your reel and now you're in edit mode, there's a little microphone up here, so you don't have to use external apps anymore for your voiceovers. So you can tap that, and then it basically has that white line, and you can move that white line. You can toggle it to where you want to start voice recording from, and then hold it down. So it's a nice little trick as well. So then just a few content creation tips before we finish up. So when you are thinking about what content will work for your reel, there's quite a few that you can do. So as I was saying, using popular music, try to edit your reels in Instagram if possible, because it will show that it's original content. Use hashtags like you would for a normal feed post for growth, but start your reel by hooking and having that attention at the start. So remember what I was saying about short form content, get their attention from the start. You can tag products in your reels as well. So if you are an e-commerce business, tag. It's absolutely possible to do that. You can even do a call out in your reel to tap below to see the tagged products. But as I was saying, use original content. It is king. And then another couple of tips as well is you can show a how-to or an explainer video. People love that. Or hacks. People love hacks. Showing new products or promoting new services, but try to do it in a way that's engaging with people as well. You could do a get to know me or get to know the team. You could showcase your website as well using some audio. But let people get to know you and your brand and your personality. You can do things like try-ons or hauls if you are in that industry. You can do makeup videos or transition videos if that is your business. You can do a day in the life. They're very popular videos. Or if you are a small business that has like items to package, you can do a little packaging video so people can see what it's like when they order from you as well. So when you are creating this content, just remember that if you when you're creating this content, right, you need to think about these things. So what is the objective? So what's the objective of the content that you're creating? Who is your target audience? Oh my God, that is so weird. There's a little drawing on the screen. That's so weird. Anyway, I don't know. That's so interesting that people can draw on the screen. Anyway, just notice that. That's so odd. See there. Anyway, oh my God, I want people to try and write on my screen. Anyway, so again, you know, when you're creating your video or any content, right, always ask yourself, what is the objective? Who is my target audience? What am I actually going to use to measure the success of this video or this piece of content? What resources do you have? How or where will the video be shot? And what story will you tell? So always look at, if you are creating this short form content, write a little storyboard, write the plan of action for it out so that you can then see what you need to create. Because if you just start with a camera in front of your face, you're going to be like, oh no, I have no idea what I'm going to say. And then you're going to be creating content that you're not very happy with. So always have a game plan. And then just some final thoughts, because Instagram is the way that it is. You need to engage to appear. So similar to what I said before about broadcast versus kind of proactive versus, not really showing up. You need to show up and you need to talk to your followers and you need to respond to comments, ask for their opinion, but try not to get too caught up in, I need 10,000 followers. I need 20,000 followers. I need. And then you're ignoring the people who are currently following you and supporting your business because you're so hungry for more, more, more. So always engage with who follows you and always show your appreciation for them as well, because they will respect that a lot. Because your followers are your advocates, they're your cheerleaders. So talk to them, don't talk at them. And then resources, always get your information from the source if you're looking for any updates or any case studies. So Instagram is under Facebook for Business, so business.instagram.com. And then the TikTok one is tiktok.com/business. So you have TikTok for Business and Instagram for Business. They have really good up-to-date like information and resources for content creation and for businesses as well. So that's me. I will be taking some questions from you. So feel free though to connect with me on LinkedIn, Muriel Foley. Follow me on Instagram. I create most of my content over there. So Muriel Foley MGFD, or my website is mgfd.ie. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen. That was really unusual with the little writing. I don't know what happened there.
That's a first for us too. Like we do these all the time. We're like, what the hell is that? I erased it. I figured out how to erase it. Apparently there's an annotation piece of Zoom, and I think somebody just accidentally like clicked something. And
no, I was loving that. I was like, can somebody else draw something so I can see?
I was like, what's happening here? I gotta delete it. This was really awesome. Thank you, Muriel, so much. I know Jen, I think, is going to moderate some questions. We had a bunch of questions, so I think we got like 5 or 10 minutes here.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm just going to dive through these here. So Libby asked, it's not too late to hop on the TikTok wagon. She feels like the first wave of TikTokers got the most out of kind of followers and views and things. What do you think of people kind of hopping on the TikTok bandwagon now?
I think that it's not that it's like, oh, I'm too late, right? Because everyone was on it and now I've missed the boat. There are new people joining TikTok every single day. It's the biggest growing app for social media right now. So even though there are maybe there is slightly more competition because more people are using it, but it also means that there's new users there as well. And it doesn't matter if you have 10 followers or 100 followers, you could create that one piece of content that would absolutely go viral, and overnight you could have orders like that. It's happened to so many of my friends where they'll create these videos for their business and they'll be tipping away all the time. They might get a bit disheartened because they're like, oh, I'm not really getting that many views. And then there'll be that one video that will just take off. And yeah, so I definitely think that it's never too late, because people thought that about Instagram at the start too, right? They're like, oh, I'm too late for Instagram. And now like you can join Instagram and still do really well. So yeah, you'll be fine.
There was a question earlier from Andrea that asked, should you approach Instagram differently depending on whether you're a business or a creator account? What are some tips for engagement as a business account?
Yeah, so I mean, it is similar to like when you're looking at any creator accounts or any business accounts that perform well, they usually have a personality, or the business owner themselves are the actual content creators. So it's not that you're going on TikTok to get like deals with brands, right? You're not going to be like, I'm an influencer. But you can take inspiration from the way content creators create content to push a product or promote something, because that's how you can promote something for your own business. So I find that when the business owner puts themselves out there and becomes that person that creates that narrative for their business, that yes, you actually are a content creator, but you're selling your business, and your business is associated with you, and people will want to support your business because they feel like they've made or created a relationship with you on these apps too.
Perfect, brilliant. I think that's the key questions from the chat. If anyone wants to unmute themselves and ask a question with their microphone, feel free to unmute there and ask anything you'd like.
I'm here, don't be afraid. Don't be afraid. But I think definitely, like, if you took anything away from today, it's that if you're nervous about TikTok, or if you feel like you're too old for TikTok, and I use air quotes for that because I get it all the time where they're like, oh my God, I feel like I'm 200 years old when I open TikTok. But I always say that you are never too old for TikTok. Only the other day, I saw this woman and she was in her 70s and she created these little mitts for bowls. They're like bowl like things that you can put, they're like material, and you can put a little bowl, yeah, like little bowl huggers, and you can put the bowl in there and like hold a hot bowl. And she's so cute, this woman, right? So she just did a little sewing video of her creating these, and everyone was like, oh my God, I love you. I'm obsessed with you. I want to support your business. And she's been like doing orders since, and she's just like, thank you so much. So nobody ever goes on and like, look, yes, you open yourself up to some trolling comments. I've gotten them myself on that channel, but you have to learn to brush them off, because some people can be just not the nicest on that channel. But you have so many people who are so supportive on it, and they're never going to, like, you will find those people who are like, how do I support you? Like, you're like, I love what you do and I love your products and I love you. So how do I support your business? And like, there are people of all ages joining that app. And once you get on that app, once you start researching and once you start actually like using it yourself and interacting with videos, it will start filtering out all of the younger people's content and show you content that older creators are creating as well. So there's a space for everybody on that. But I know the way that TikTok markets itself, it markets itself as a young person's app, but it's growing more with the older generations, if that makes sense. So don't be afraid.
Yep. Awesome. We got two more questions, it looks like.
Yeah.
Libby, why don't you go first?
Yeah, okay. So thank you so much, guys. I'm really loving it. So I have two questions. They're kind of connected. So one, what if a person is thinking of opening 2 TikTok accounts? I know that in Instagram you could have, I think, up to 5, at least from one device. What if I have a few different interests or 2 different niches? Like one is, let's say, just comedy and me being silly, and another one is, let's say, I'm into how-to tutorials for embroidery, for example, just to give an example. What do you guys suggest, to combine it, to have one TikTok and let that grow, or to rather divide it into categories?
So if your audience for both is very, very different, then I would say yes, have one that's very much focused on fun content and jokes, and one that's focused on your business. But I feel like if your personality is that you are fun and that you kind of want to be a little bit laid back on that channel, but also like you can use your personality to sell your products as well. Like you can use trending sounds while you're doing embroidery. You know, you can hop on these trends and actually use your business and use your craft at the same time. And it's the people that have those personalities and have their business associated with their name that do really well. So what you might find is that you could create one channel because you're like, no, I can be like whoever I want to be on this channel. But then in the other one, I just want to talk business. Then you might find that the one where you're having a bit of fun on it is growing a bit more because you're being way too businessy on the other one. So if you have that personality that you can combine the two, absolutely. But if you feel like there's a totally different audience for both, then split them. You can have, like, usually when I'm logged in, I'm maxed out at 3 accounts, and then it makes me log right out of one. But like that, if you can merge the two and have a really good personality pushing your business out there, I would say do that.
Okay, thanks. And then one more quick one for Instagram. Yeah. So on Instagram, I already have like an established following. And I'm nervous about, I feel a little self-conscious because now that I'm making more funny reels, it's like, it's also, I'm showcasing a new part of myself. And it's, I'm afraid what if my more serious already existing followers will think I'm weird or judge, you know what I mean? So, yeah, what's your advice on that?
I think that reels are making people step out of their comfort zone, but they're also making them relax a little bit. So it would be different now if you were a lawyer and now, you know, you're like, here's how to do this, and here, like, some, you know, here's me coming from the court, and then you're just like, you know, then you have these prank videos in your reels. It's very, very different, right? So I'd be like, maybe you shouldn't do that on that channel. But if it's just you that's maybe a bit more relaxed, having a bit more fun, like, there will be people who, like, you might actually feel a bit more comfortable having a bit of fun on your reels, but still create content that people can engage with, then I would say to not hold back from that. But we have this overthinking culture where we're like, oh, I kind of put a joke in there, or, oh, I didn't really like do my hair the way I normally do. So should I post that or will I lose followers? But I always say if you're being authentically you the whole time and you don't feel like you're just doing something because you feel like it's what you should be doing, if you're comfortable starting to be a bit more relaxed with your content and reels are giving you that freedom, then stick with that. And if there are a couple of people that decide that's not for them anymore, then do you really want them anyway in the first place?
Exactly. I'll lose some, but win more. And also, maybe it's a good practice to stop giving an F, about what people think.
Yes. Oh my God, 100%. If we literally, the amount of people I talk to daily who are like so self-conscious about their content because they'd post something and lose 10 followers and be like, oh my God, what did I do wrong? And I'm like, who cares? Those are people who are just, they saw your content, they didn't like it anymore. You don't want them. Like, you do not want them. It's the same when people don't use email marketing because they're like, I'm afraid of I'll get people unsubscribing. Do you want them sitting in your email database anyway, or would you rather they just left and you were left with people who actually care about you, So Libby, yes, stop giving an F. Love that. That's your takeaway from today.
Thank you so much.
I think Andrea had a question as well. And how are we doing with time, Muriel?
I'm good.
You're okay? Okay. We'll take a couple more. Yeah. Awesome.
Thank you so much, Craig. I have a quick question. I'm running social media for a financial services company, and I'm struggling a little bit with engagement. So we work mainly with teachers and school districts, but I don't know if I'm supposed to be doing more engagement with our competitors to get, some people who are interested in that niche, or if I'm supposed to be getting our engagement up by interacting more with like the teacher audience. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I think if there is an audience, like I was saying before, if there is an audience that you want to tap into and you feel like maybe that audience is currently following this other channel or currently in this other niche, that maybe you want to go and start following a couple of those people or start creating content that you feel will be valuable for them. And I'm sure if you're managing the account, and especially if it's in the financial services, that you're more than likely creating some sort of informative content. But I always say that the best way of growing is creating that content that's shareable as well, and that will help you to grow, because if somebody's sharing your reels or sharing your content because it will benefit their followers or their friends, then that's a win. But nurture the relationships you currently have. And even if it's a case where every so often you have to put a question box in your story where it's like, what type of content would you like? What would you like us to post? Is there anything that you need more information on? And create content around that, and maybe send it to that person who asked you that question and be like, here's your question, feel free to share it in your story. So it's like that nice authentic growth from that person who had that request, and they're more than likely going to share it as well. But use things like, obviously, the things like hashtags and posting at the right time, using your insights to find what content is working better for you and how you can learn from that and create content that worked in the past. It's all like ticking all of those boxes. But if you know who your audience is, think about all of the things that they're interested in. And I know you're kind of restricted when it comes to content creation, but maybe if it's like teachers or if it's parents, is there maybe another niche that you can tap into in terms of content creation there as well? So like content for that type of a demographic, and just try to be, I suppose, as creative as possible, but try to be as helpful so that people might save it, might share it. But do interact with your followers and ask them those questions, because they'll give you the reasons why they're following you. They'll give you the content that they want you to create. So then once you're doing it, they'll more than likely share it and feel more valued.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Awesome. Well, I think that's it. Muriel, I want to thank you so much. I learned a lot. I'm not a huge TikTok user myself yet, but there's always time. Yet. Well, it's funny, I was talking to somebody else who's really knowledgeable about TikTok, and I was like, it'd be ridiculous for me to be on TikTok. She was like, no, you do marketing stuff. Like you have to be on TikTok. Yeah. And she was like, get on TikTok. I was like, okay, we'll see. And we really appreciate your time. Yeah. Thank you so much for a highly engaging talk. Thanks everybody for joining. If you are interested in some of the other thanks, Hannah. I love it. I want to say this is one of the best social media workshops. Awesome.
Oh, yeah,
great work. Yeah, we love that. If you are interested in some of the other stuff that we're doing, like I said, we do these events often, and we do long form programs that are deep dives into both tactical stuff. So how do you market in a channel, as well as more strategic framework style things. We'll send out an email with a bunch of information, and you can learn more about our membership as well. If you go to growthuniversity.io, you can find us. Muriel, we will also send out in our recap email how to get in touch with you and all that great stuff as well.
Great. Yeah, come find me on Instagram. Be friends with me.
Awesome. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, everyone.
Great questions.
Enjoy your day.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye.